Okay, folks, it's time for class to start. Today, I'm not going to actually start until like at 5 after because it's the first day and this building, it's hard to find things. It took me like 10 years here before I could find my office. Anyway, so long story short, every other day I will expect you to be here on time. Now I want you all to take a look at that clock in the back. That clock is jacked. I don't know what's up with that. Now, I'm going to try to get a couple of lithium batteries and climb up there later today and see if I can get it unjacked. But in the meantime, don't worry about looking at that. And by the way, don't worry about looking at the clock at all because I guarantee you I will not hold you late. Let me say that again. I guarantee you I will not hold you late. Come on in.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the note card, I had asked for some information here. And in the interest of fairness, I will tell you the same things about me. Yeah, by the way, this is first class down here. Just like on the airplane, only no free booze. Sorry. Okay, so my name's actually Kelly Stephen Haggard. Kelly is an Irish word for warrior. And for many, many centuries, if you named a baby Kelly, boy, then he was going to be a great warrior. Well, guess what? In the 70s sometime, people started naming little girls Kelly, and so then it's all confusing, but I'm still Kelly for 31 years until my wife and I start working in the same building. My wife's name is Dana. What do we know about the name Dana? It's kind of like Kelly, can go either way, right? In fact, we have a Dana Frederick who teaches here, and students wind up in each other's classrooms because they assume if they got the same first name, it must be the same person. I don't know why. Anyway, long story short, I became Stephen at that point. So there you go. So you may see me in bright space as Kelly, and that's what my mom calls me, or I'm other places as Stephen. It's the same guy. Okay, my hometown, Carthage, Missouri. Anybody here ever been to Carthage? Oh, what did you do in Carthage?
Went through it.
Oh, good. It's a nice place to be from, and it's safe to stop there for gas. So yeah, that's good. Okay, anybody else have anything interesting that they know about Carthage? Anybody? Oh, come on in.
We stayed at the Precious Moments Hotel.
Oh, yes. Okay, so the Precious Moments Chapel was built when I was late junior high, early high school. It finished up right when I was becoming dating age. And it was free. And I was poor and cheap. So you can guess I would take girls there on dates. So that was, I've got a little further story about that, but after we get to know each other a little better. Okay. It has to do with shiny floors. Okay, back to the story. Yeah, so that's where I'm from. My dad worked in the dynamite plant there from 1962 until 2002. 40 years in the dynamite plant, got blown up twice. Survived both times, of course. He's still alive. He's 84. My current employment, actually, let's throw something in here in the middle. So in my hometown of Carthage, Missouri, if you were good at math, which I was, you were told, well, you have to do one of two things. You can either be an accountant or you can be an engineer. Do we have any accountants in here? All right, so I'm going to apologize in advance when I say accounting is not sexy. Of course, engineering isn't either, right? But I went on and became a mechanical engineer. I worked in nuclear power with a bunch of ex-sailors. I worked in the oil field with a bunch of, you can guess the kind of people I worked with in the oil field. And as a result, I have a very salty tongue. What does that mean? I use bad words, right? I try not to. I really do. But occasionally the SH is going to slip out, and if you're really, really, really pushing things, the F word comes out. I just want to let you know that that was just part of my lived experience, part of my culture. I'm kidding. I'm trying not to use those words. My wife's been working on me for a long time. By the way, my wife is also a professor here, Dr. Dana Haggard. We have been married for 31 years. I have to do the math there. We've been married for 31 years. I usually tell students I've been married for 31 years to the same woman, right? Because there are people that are married that long that's been like putting like 4 or 5 together. So that's different. Okay. So where did I work? I worked in the nuclear power plant at Russellville, Arkansas. I also worked in the oil field, and then I got into robotic manufacturing of truck suspensions up in Ohio. And then I left that company to be a plant engineer for a plastics company. And that was during my MBA time, and I got converted over to business. I went into marketing and actually helped launch a product. And then after that marketing campaign got launched, they offered me to be a salesperson. How many of you in here would say yes to a sales job? Yeah, you see, it's pretty slim, right? Now, and I said this, I said no. And they said, well, we'll give you a car. I said yes, right? Okay, so I got the company car and I became a salesperson, and you know what? I loved it. So if someone offers you an opportunity for sales, and it's a product you believe in, that's key, it's a product you believe in, give it a try. You might be good at it, and people who are good at sales make lots of money. Because how do they get paid? Commission, right? Yeah, I walked away from, so just one thing that I had got into a customer's facility, I would have been pulling $17,000 a year worth of commissions. Come on in. Not bad, and you? Good. Okay, so, and I walked away from that so I could be with you today, right? That was my last job in industry. So what's my current employment? You're welcome. I am a full professor of finance. So here's the way, oh yeah, you're first class. Come on in. Yeah. I'm a full professor. What does that mean? So, here's the pecking order at the university. At the bottom, we have per course instructors. Then we have instructors, full-time. Then we have clinical professors, assistant, associate, full. And then we have the tenure track people like me, assistant, associate, and full. And then beyond me is something called distinguished, which I will never be, right? Okay. So, and then I need to tell you this part, because you know who's next up on the list after full professor or distinguished? The administrative assistant. Do you guys know how this works? Who does the administrative assistant report directly to? Your boss. Do you think it's important to get to know your administrative assistants wherever you go? Absolutely. Okay, so that's my current employment. As far as professional aspirations, what I want to do when I grow up, baby, I'm living the dream. I'm doing exactly what I want to do, and I will be doing it until, and you can write this down, July 31st, 2037. 2037. It would be July 31st, 2036, but my wife is 1 year younger than me and will not be eligible for Medicare until 2037. So I figured I'd stick around. You know, it'd be cruel to make her work by herself. Okay, yeah, this is it. Actually, when I get done here, I'm thinking about getting an associate's degree in like robots or something. Who knows? Just something to keep busy. So, interesting facts. I'm only expecting one interesting fact from you, and I've got a few here from me, but you can tell me whether you find any of these interesting. You guys know who Dick Cheney is? Dick Cheney, former Vice President of the United States. He owes me $11,000 plus interest from 1998. My fingerprints are on file with the FBI. I've been nearly killed twice on the job, both before becoming a professor. I have a product you can buy, a product that I developed that you can buy at Walmart. I hunted alligators in Louisiana in 1996. That was the last time I've hunted anything other than a good bargain. I've worked in Scotland, China, and Germany. And people often confuse me for one of the undead because I am pale, cold to the touch, and older than I look. So, any of those of interest to you?
What's the product?
Okay. So if you go to Walmart pharmacy and you get a prescription filled and you get the little amber colored bottle, if you flip it up and you look on the bottom and it says O-I, the color that was used in that plastic is my product. Now that's kind of a long chain there, but so for those of you who don't know how plastics work, when you've got I'm not even seeing a good example here. Okay, at the top of her coffee cup there, it appears to be white. Oh, very good. Thank you, Vanna. Okay. It appears to be white. But here's what happens. The plastic resins are almost always clear. In order to give them color or opacity, you have to put color into them. And so that's where my company came in, was selling the little concentrated pellets of color that they would put in, like 3% of our stuff, 97% of the clear pellets, and it would come out as a white coffee cup lid. So that's what I sold. And I'll give you some more examples as we go through class of things that I did in those different jobs that apply to finance. Okay, any other questions about my interesting facts?
Which oil rigs did you work at?
Okay, so I did most of my time on land, and I forget the name of the rig, but it was actually not quite offshore. It was on Lac Blanc in Louisiana, which is White Lake for you and I, right? And but the lake is so big that you can't see the shore, and so I spent some time on that one too. But the one that I nearly got killed on was in Glenmora, Louisiana, and it was a land rig. Would you like to hear the story? Okay, so I'm working on a rig. There's this hill, and down at the bottom, here's the oil rig. I'm going to draw it as a derrick, although you all know that that's not what oil rigs look like. I hope. Okay, and we have, so here, I'm sitting down here, and here's my buddy, and he's smoking a cigarette. Some of you already see part of the problem, right? This is a 12,000 PSI oil and gas well, and the only thing that's separating us from the oil and gas is some iron and some elastomers, things like that. A guy brings in, and we're down here working, and then at the oil rig site, you always want to keep things set up to where the very next step you're ready to go. Because the rental time on these rigs is extraordinary, especially when you get offshore. Back then, we're talking the 90s, it was $250,000 a day. And so I'll bet it's like $500,000 or what's that guy doing there? Anyway, so this is a truck driver, and he brings in the equipment for the next piece of the job. But the problem is, he forgets to set the parking brake. Come on in. Oh, here's your card.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, he forgets to set the parking brake. Does anyone know how gravity works? The truck starts coasting down the hill. Now, here's what you need to know. It starts out very slowly at first. And I saw the driver headed back toward the truck. I'm like, yeah, he's going to catch that, no problem. Except for one thing. This was the only one-legged truck driver I have ever seen in my entire life. And he takes off after the truck. And he's quick, but he's not quite quick enough. So the truck coasts down the hill, and this is the only time that I have ever been proud of being lazy. We were so lazy, nobody wanted to go up and get the cooler for lunch. And so we sent a guy up there, and he just drove our crane truck down there, because the crane truck had the cooler on the back. Now, it's a terrible waste of resources, and we were lazy, but that crane truck was sitting right here. And fortunately, that stopped the truck from actually shearing off the wellhead. Now, assume the truck actually sheared off the wellhead. What do you think is going to happen? I wouldn't be here today. Right? So that's my best oil rig story. By the way, you can always tell on an oil rig what kind of day it's going to be. When you pull up, by the number of teeth you see and the number of dogs you see. If the people have all their teeth, that's a good sign, right? And if there's a bunch of dogs running around, that's a bad sign. I'm not kidding. That was one of the first things they taught me. They're like, dude, when you show up on site, look around. I got on one day. There were 3 or 4 dogs running around and not a lot of teeth. And I got up, so up on the deck where the drilling was going on. It was cold. And they've got a gas heater going. But that's dumb enough, right? But the guard on the front of it is broken, and they've got it turned way up. So there's like this 9-inch tongue of flame shooting out of this thing, and we are 12 feet from the wellhead. Dumb, dumb, dumb. This job is so much safer. Okay, any other questions?
Where in Scotland did you work?
It was a place called Arbroath. Have you been to Scotland?
I'm from England.
Oh, okay. So Arbroath, so do you know where Aberdeen is?
Mhm.
Okay, if you go down the coast, you get to a fishing village, and there's really nothing to recommend it other than the fact that the Halliburton company has a factory there.
Okay.
All right. So what part of England?
I'm from Lancashire,
Oh,
so just under the lakes.
your English is quite good.
Thank you.
Actually, I was going to say your accent, you sound American. Okay, other questions?
Why does Cheney owe you $11,000?
Yeah, okay.
That interest has got to be so high now.
No kidding. Okay, so, yeah, I'm sure he's got more money for lawyers than I do. Okay, so back to this story. It's December 1998. I'm working for a company called Halliburton. By the way, who is the CEO of Halliburton at that point? Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney. Okay, now, and here is the way that our retirement got funded at Halliburton. It's through something called profit sharing. And you'd basically, they would figure out a percentage of the profits, and then we all knew the formula to figure out how much we were going to be getting. And it's pushing Christmas of '98, and I've already figured it out. It's going to be $11,000, and I am happy, happy, happy. And then I pick up a copy of the Dallas Morning News, and it says Halliburton to merge with Dresser. And I'm like, well, certainly that won't impact me. Wrong. Because here's what they did. By the way, this is totally dirty pool accounting-wise. They accrued all of the expenses for the merger into 1998. Why? Because 98 had been a great year. Oil prices were high, we were working our tails off, we were making a lot of money. Oil prices had already tanked. We knew that 99 was going to be a bad year. So what did they do? They accrued the expense of the merger and way overestimated it. Accrued it in 1998, and then the part that they didn't spend, they reversed the accrual in 1999. So let's say that they accrued an extra $100 million in 98. That took us down to zero profit for the year. What percent of anything is, so what percent of zero, any percentage of zero is zero, right? Okay, so that was my profit sharing for 98. Now, when they reverse the accrual in 99, they do so to the point where we basically break even. What's, once again, what's the percentage of zero? It's zero, right? And it's all because of this dirty accounting trick done by Dick Cheney and his merry madmen, right? So that's why I say he owes me $11,000 plus interest from 1998. Other questions? Okay, let's get back to business here then. So in my class, I don't allow any devices unless you have an accommodation, and we've already talked about it. So you guys need to go ahead and shut your laptops unless you have an accommodation, and you need to put away your tablets unless you have an accommodation, and you need to have your phones away unless you have an accommodation. There's only one device that I truly want to see in this class. Would you please lift that up and show the class? Oh, look at that sweet beauty right there. That's what I want to see. By the way, if you don't bring your calculator to a finance class, that's a problem. Okay, so we've already talked about the note card, and I'm hoping to have time to go around and ask you guys about what's on your note card. I am recording the class on video, and so occasionally, so if I came over here, well, this thing's supposed to follow me. Let's see how this works. Oh, no wonder. Okay, so if I come over here, can you see yourself now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And if I come over here, well, you're our pro, can you see that? Yeah, damn, you got good eyes. Okay, so what's my point to you? Can I see you at all? No. If you don't want to be on camera, and you're a good-looking man, I don't know why you wouldn't want to be on camera, but if you don't want to be on camera, that's the place to be right there, right? So, what do I do with this video? So I edit it because at the beginning you guys are talking and I don't want your dirty secrets to be released to the world. And at the end I chop it off because you guys may come up and talk to me about stuff. And in the middle, if I say one of those naughty words that I'm not supposed to say, I usually figure out how to edit that out. Sometimes I don't. Anyway, so now what do I do with that? I post it. I post it, so if you miss the class for any reason, what can you do? Watch the video, right? Now, hey, it's better to be live because you can ask questions and we can go back and forth. But if you're sick, by golly, I don't want to see you here. And you don't want to be here. And if you, if for some reason this time of day you just can't manage to get out of bed on time, then instead of charging in a half an hour late, then just watch the video, right? Let's see what else we've got here. I got to keep moving this or it'll go to sleep on me. So something I started last year was the Golden Thinker Award. You guys see the Golden Thinker? For those of you who don't have your glasses on, this is Rodin's Thinker, the sculpture, perched on the toilet. Why the toilet? Well, that's where a lot of great thinking gets done. Right? You guys didn't know that? It's because you're looking at Instagram and TikTok on the toilet. You guys need to use your brain, right? Exactly. Okay, so the Golden Thinker goes to the person who has the highest score at the end of the semester. And if you want to see who the last holder of the Golden Thinker is, you can go out to my LinkedIn. There's a picture of her. She's very proudly displaying the Golden Thinker. Now, something that I'm starting for this semester is the challenge coin. By the way, I got a 3D printer for Christmas, can you tell? A challenge coin, and I'm not gonna, I will hand these out sparingly, but when I do, it's gonna be something special you're gonna want to tell your grandkids about, right? So, the coin has, on the back, there's the poo emoji, and it says, "People are scumbags." And you will learn that's my catchphrase, people are scumbags. And then on the back is my personal logo. Doesn't that sound pretentious? My personal logo. It's just something I came up with using AI, right? Boop. So it was free. So free, like I said before, I'm in the free. Okay, so challenge coins. Now, I'm going to demonstrate the use of the challenge coin right now. Raise your hand if you read chapter 1. Okay, from the people who say they've read chapter 1, can anyone tell me what is the goal of financial management?
Maximize shareholder wealth.
Very good. So, now, here's something you need to know about me. I have terrible hand-eye coordination, so I will never attempt to throw anything to you. So there you go. Okay, so that's how the challenge coin works. So, if, what's the challenge coin worth? Absolutely nothing, right? It's not like you can trade them for a free pizza or anything. Actually, I'll have to give that a thought. Okay, so that's the Golden Thinker. Today, we're going to be introing to the class. I'm going to show you about our bright space. Next time, we're going to be doing more chapter 1. Oh, and we'll start chapter 1, hopefully. Be on time, please. And I'm telling you, that clock is jacked, so don't pay any attention to it. Students always come in and I say, oh, by the way, if you're late, I will shame you. I will say, for shame, you are late. And then instantly, you will look at the clock or you'll look at the phone. Folks, don't do that. Do you think I'm going to be calling you out if I don't already know what time it is? Do you think a good lawyer asks a question he doesn't know the answer to? Right? I already know you're late. So just take my word for it and sit down in shame. Okay. Let's see. We're going to talk about the syllabus, and we're going to talk about Connect. We're going to talk about discussions. In fact, let's go ahead and get into Brightspace so we can see what we're talking about here. By the way, raise your hand if you think Brightspace sucks. All right, me too. Raise your hand if you thought Blackboard sucked. Yeah. So here's the problem. Anytime you've got a software that's meant for really high-functioning people to use, the problems don't get fixed, right? So I programmed in a statistical programming language called SAS. And I know like 52 workarounds to the glitches in that thing. Why don't they get fixed? Because everybody that uses it is smart enough to learn the workarounds. Isn't that terrible? But now think about Zoom. Zoom pretty much works every time. Why? Think about it, the audience, right? It's a much broader audience, so we have to have people, everybody has to be able to use that. Okay. On with the story. So here's the way I like to interact with content on this. So you go down there and they got all these widgets and crap, and it just goes on forever and ever, and I hate that. So I go to content and then click on content, which by the way is bad programming to have the same thing twice, right? It shouldn't be like that. And then I click on table of contents. This thing's slower than my mom's internet. Okay, there we go. Now, so here in the table of contents, now you can see everything. And the first thing is this Bright Space Tour, which hopefully you won't have to watch because we're kind of going over that right now. And then there's an important message from Snoop Dogg. By the way, Snoop Dogg is my age. I'm not kidding. Snoop and I are within a few months of each other, age-wise. And Elon Musk, strangely enough. So Snoop's got some great advice there. He's a great thinker. So here we go with our syllabus. And I'm going to pull that up and we'll walk through it. I hate this thing. What's that? Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's got the usual information. My office is 333 Glass Hall. My wife is next door in 332 Glass Hall. If you knock on Dr. Hager's door and it's an attractive blonde woman, that's my wife. I'm next door. There's my phone number. Don't call my office and leave a voicemail. Nobody does that anymore, right? So send me an email, and I guarantee you I respond to emails really quickly. If I don't, you need to reach out to my department head and let him know because I'm probably dead. My office hours are from 1:30 to 2:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or by prior appointment. I know not everybody can meet 1:30 to 2:30 Tuesdays or Thursdays, and so if you've got some sort of legitimate thing that keeps you from coming then, line dancing classes don't count. But if you've got some legitimate excuse for not being able to come, that's great. We'll find another time. I am typically awake from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. and responding to my email. That's every day except for Sunday. Sunday mornings I'm not available, but I email back really quickly, and here's what I would tell you to do. Put as much information as you can. Oh, for shame, she's late.
Sorry.
And your name is? Your whole name?
Oh, June.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Please have a seat. See, now I know her name. Okay. Oh, by the way, I plan to learn everybody's name, so don't let that freak you out. Oh, yeah, come on down here. Plenty of luxurious first-class seating right here. Yeah. Okay, so the only thing that I would tell you about that seat versus this seat is that sometimes this can block people's view. That's the only downside of that seat. Okay, so let's see, where are we at? Syllabus exceptions. People are always thinking, oh, certainly the rules don't apply to me because I'm special. How many of you, your parents told you you were special? Go ahead, be honest. How many? Are you the only one?
I guess so.
Yeah, I think he's the only honest. I think he's the only. Now, we're not talking special needs here, right?
My parents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, hey. My mom, and I'm going to use the term from this period correct, right? The term that was used at the time that my mom thought I was this. She thought I was mentally retarded until I was 2 years old. So I didn't talk. I am not kidding. I didn't talk. I didn't walk. She's like, phew, this kid's a vegetable. I guess I just didn't have anything interesting to say or anywhere interesting to go. I don't know, because I can't remember. Okay, back to the story. So, yeah, I feel your pain. Okay, so if your parents did, by the way, now let's be honest, how many of you, the parents told them that they were special? Yeah, I'm seeing some more hands here. Now, here's the trick. If everybody's special, how many people are actually special? 0, right? So, here's what you need to know. Unless you have an accommodation from disability services, everything in the syllabus applies to you exactly as written. And so you don't have to ask me for an exception because you already know the answer. What's the answer going to be? No. So don't bother to ask. Help me to still have good respect for you by not asking for this, because we've already talked about it. Okay, now here's just the standard typical stuff. The required online homework system, you guys are already signed up for that, and we'll look a little bit at that. For your discussions, I use the Wall Street Journal. By the way, if I were you, I would sign up for the Wall Street Journal for as absolutely long as they will let me, because once you guys get out of here and you're making real money, guess what? They drop their hammer on you and they start picking your pocket for like $500 a year. So sign up for it for as long as you can. I've been reading it since 1999. It makes you a more interesting person at cocktail parties. If you haven't started going to cocktail parties, eventually you will get sucked into that orbit, because that's like being an adult and whatnot. Okay, it's going to make you more interesting, but more importantly, for job interviews, when you think, by the way, most of you probably think that job interviews are about figuring out whether you can do the job. Do you think that's right? No. What do you think a job interview is really about?
Trying to learn the interviewer and trying to develop rapport, trying to make sure that they like you and you like them.
Yeah, so there are two tests that I've heard my colleagues talk about. One is the Tulsa test. Would I ride to Tulsa and back with this person in a car? And if they don't pass the Tulsa test, do you think we hire them? No. The other is, and the shorter one that you'll encounter when you go to visit, office visits, is the lunch test. Is this someone that I would want to go to lunch with? Or that I could stand to go to lunch with, right? So in my thing, it's weird because professors, we actually get to hire our coworkers, which is not going to happen to you, right? But it's good because we always have this one test, and it's like, because we know people are going to be here for a long time. I've been here 17 years, right? And the question is, can I stand to spend a quarter of a century with this person? And if the answer is no, you got to look really hard at that, right? Now, we're not discriminating against anybody, but we're definitely saying if this person's an ass, which surprisingly, people in job interviews will transmit clearly that they're an ass, then we try not to hire them, because you don't want to ruin the culture of your company. Does that make sense? Okay. Man, we are way off in the grass here. Okay, required calculator, the TIBA2 Plus, which you've already seen today. Now, if you are a CFP type, any CFP types in here? Do you have TIBA, or do you have what do you have?
I just have the BA plus.
Oh, okay, very good. Then she's the only one I would expect to use anything different. So that means I expect to see you all using your TIBA2 Plus on your exams. By the way, should you use your BI2 Plus on practice and homework? Yeah, so it's amazing. People will use Excel, or they'll use their favorite calculator from high school, the Casio. And then they get to the exam and they're in a world of hurt because I don't allow them to use those calculators. It's just like, anyone here been in the military? Nobody been in the military? Okay, so let me tell you how it works. They train you on the weapon that you're going to carry into battle, right? American soldiers are trained on the M4 carbine because that's what they're going to carry into battle. Russian soldiers are trained on the AK because that's what they're going to carry into battle. So does it make any sense for you to train with something else when you're not going to be carrying that into the exam? Absolutely not. Okay, we've got the computer requirements here. By the way, our exams are going to be on Respondus Monitor, which means a couple of things. So we don't have to come here and torture each other for 75 minutes is how long you're going to get. And it also means we don't all have to be doing it at the same time. It can be asynchronous. You can do it at a time when you are truly awake. You look kind of sleepy. You might want to do it later in the day, right? So do it at a time when you're truly awake. It's really a good deal for you. The only thing is this. You need to make sure that you've got good internet and that your equipment works. And by the way, Ms. Holden, where's Ms. Holden? Does it work well on mobile devices?
No.
No. Use PC, use your Mac, but do not use a Chromebook, do not use mobile devices. And I've actually set up the exams where you can't use those things, and for good reason, because here's what will happen. The whole thing will go belly up on you, and then you'll ferociously be oh, help, and you will feel so bad, and you'll be all nervous, and then you won't do well, because I'll fix it, but you won't do well after that, right? So just start from the very beginning, using your PC, using your Mac, and then you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now most of the time, email, in fact, I handle probably 97% of the problems by email. If a problem is very complex, I will say, let's schedule a Zoom call. If you want to complain about what a terrible ass I am, we'll schedule a Zoom call, right? Because that's not something you want to have documented in an email. If you want to have a very intense discussion about your grade, we'll schedule a Zoom call. But most of the stuff that we do in here, in fact, I would hazard, just from looking right now, you guys look like a bright, happy bunch. I'll bet we don't have to have any Zoom calls at all. Of course, you can also come to my office. Brightspace, everything is on Brightspace. You are, by university policy, required to check Brightspace once per day. So make sure you do that. Also check your Missouri State email once per day, at least. I've already told you about in-class tablets, computers, and recorders. Unless you have an accommodation, you don't have those. Now, there's really no reason to audio record this class because after all, I'm recording it, right? And I'm going to post it, and I'll edit it nicely for you, and then it'll be good to go. We will look at the discussion board here in a bit. I will post an article, most likely from the Wall Street Journal, although not always, you'll see. And you guys will try to write something interesting and insightful about it. And then you will rate 6 to 12 of your classmates, just 6 to 12. For their discussions. Now, what does this mean? It means you need to get your stuff out there probably 24 hours before the due time so people will have the opportunity to go out and rate your discussions. And you're going to use the 5-star system just like on Amazon. And just like on Amazon, 5 is perfection and 1 sucks. By the way, what do you think students typically rate each other? 5. Y'all are so generous. And occasionally, I will get someone who's really upset. They're like, why don't you grade my discussions? And I say, because you don't want me to, right? I'm like, 3. Yeah, you don't want that. Okay, so there are 12 discussions. I only count the top 10. So you say, oh no, I forgot to post the discussion. Don't worry. You've got 12 of them. Just don't screw up on any more than 2. Right. The examinations, I've got 3 midterm exams. They're all 40 multiple choice questions, half calculations, half concepts, and they will be over, the first one is over chapters 1 through 4. By the way, chapter 4 is review from Fin 380-600. If you are entirely confident of your abilities with the TI-BA 2+, pop on out there and do the Chapter 4 practice, and if you get all that right on the first time through, congratulations. You don't have to do anything to prepare for Exam 1 as far as Chapter 4 goes. But let's just assume that you are like 99% of the students who come into my class, they've forgotten what's going on with the TI-BA 2+, then I've got all the materials out there for you to prepare for that material. Plus, of course, I'm always around to help you during office hours or to answer your questions via email. Now, the most common complaint about my exams is not that they are hard. It's that there's not enough time. Now, I'm going to tell you 2 things about that. Number 1, my exams used to be 50 questions, and now they're 40. I'm not going any lower. What I want you to know is that the speed issue is one of practice. If you practice enough with your calculator, you will build speed, and you will do fine. But if you're having to sit there and try to read that little instruction card that comes with the calculator to figure out how to do this stuff, you're dead before you start, right? So you need to practice. And it's amazing how many of you are sitting here shaking your heads, but you're going to walk away, you're not going to believe me, and then you're going to end up in a world of hurt on Exam 1. Please be one of the wise students who believes me and does the practice and asks questions, because you want to be ready when that 75-minute clock starts. Okay, now those first 3 cover, so the first one's chapter 1 through 4, the second one covers everything since Exam 1, the third one covers everything from after Exam 2. If you take those and the average of those will then count as your final exam score if you've taken all three of those. Now, at that point, if you are happy with the course grade that earns you, congratulations, you're done. You do not have to take the final exam. However, if you miss exam 1, 2, or 3, you will have to take the final exam, and that final exam score will not only count for the final exam, it'll count for the missed midterm exams. In theory, you could skip all exams 1, 2, 3 and just take the final and have that fill in for all your missed exams, but we're going to tell you how dangerous that is in Chapter 11. That is a terribly undiversified portfolio, right? You don't want to do that, I guarantee you. Okay, now, let's see. You can read through this for yourself. I don't want to waste a lot of time with it, but read carefully to see what you're allowed to have, because you may be surprised at what I'm allowing you to have. I'm allowing you to have a handwritten note sheet, both sides, right? Can you use a highlighter on it? Yes. Can you use different colors of ink? Yes. Could you actually write on it with invisible ink and then change the light source in the middle of the exam so you could have twice as much? I'm pretty sure my graduate assistant would catch that on her review of your video, which, by the way, she is sharp. Do you guys know Juliet Robinson? Oh, yeah. She will catch you, so don't do that. Okay. Let's see. By the way, if we watch your respondents monitor videos and we're like, oh, yeah, they're cheating, but we can't prove it enough just to boot you at that point, what we'll do is we'll say, okay, no problem. You're going to come take it while we watch. Do you want that? No, just be honest. Do the work. Okay, so if you have trouble while you're taking an exam, what you immediately do is you send me an email, and in the subject line it says, please reset my exam attempt. That's it. And then you could, you know, if you want to write some stuff down below, you can. But the reason you do that is because as soon as I see it, that subject line, I know two things. Number one, you're having a problem, and number two, I have your permission to reset your attempt. What usually happens is people are like, oh, Dr. Shepard, I'm having trouble. And then I have to reply back, may I reset your attempt? And they're like, please! And I'm like, okay. Now in the meantime, we've wasted time, right? Time you could have been, and by the way, this time, what happens to your nervousness as that time passes? It's exponential growth. You don't want that. Okay, let's see. Homework is through Connect. There are 12 homework assignments. I only count the top 10. Once again, if you miss one, that's your deal. Exams are worth a total of 800 points. Your homework's 100. Discussion's 100. Here is your grading scale. If you get greater than or equal to 900, congratulations, you've got an A. Now, what if you get 899.9999? That's a B. Now, I reserve the right to add a couple points here and there to everybody to clean up breaks, but I don't guarantee it. Breaks in the distribution. Because if I've got 899.99999 and the next one is 851, then I'm going to push that person up. But my call, not yours. Some people can't help themselves. If they're just a little bit short, they'll send me an email. Oh, Dr. Haggard, please! Right? Because it hurts their tummy to think that they're going to miss an A by that much. Now, I will, once I get that email, I will do something to help them out. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 25 points off the total. So now they're not at 899.999, they're at 874.999. They're not that close to the next higher grade. They can relax, right? So don't email me asking for a bump. If there's going to be any adjustment, it'll be on me, not on you. If you've got a disability, you need to let me know. Outside class, you can get the Disability Center to send me the proper documentation, and we'll take care of all that. If you cheat, that's XF Town in my class, and the XF gets you kicked out of the MBA program, cast out into the darkness, never to return. So don't do that. Course plan for the unexpected. If things go crazy, guess what? The bright space that you have is exactly the same one that my online students have, so you have already at your disposal everything that you need to succeed in this class, and so we will always switch to online if things go terribly, terribly wrong. The attendance policy, folks, I don't have an attendance policy per se. I will be taking roll for the first a few times together and then spotty throughout after that to try to learn your names. There are two kinds of students that I remember from class. Do you know what the two kinds are? Anybody?
Really good and really bad.
The really good, I remember, and the really bad, yes, not grade-wise. Some of my favorite students have been in my class 5 times now. I've really gotten to know them, right? But ones that cause trouble in class, and so far none of you, I've been watching you, none of you have shown any predilection to do anything bad except show up late. You weren't the only one that was late, you were just the latest, right? Okay. Mobile phone policy, folks. Keep your phone off and away during class, and if for some reason it vibrates or rings during the exam, we'll pick that up on Respondus Monitor. By the way, did you know your voice is also being recorded when you do Respondus Monitor? You know that I've learned some really great words from watching students taking my exams, and I can tell from their facial features what they actually mean, but I go ahead and look them up on Urban Dictionary anyway. Let's see. So here's the online testing rules. Folks, read those carefully and know them. And we've already talked about this part. If you want to see other university policies, which I'm sure you're dying to, there is a thing on Brightspace where you can do that, and I'll show it to you here in a second. So here's our class schedule. Everything we're going to do here is on this schedule. Unless I tell you otherwise, none of this is going to get rescheduled. Now, sometimes here in this class, we get to talking and running long, and not past 12:15, of course, but we'll get past where the homework is, so I'll push the homework out a few days at that point. Let's see. Any questions so far?
Sorry, on that, it doesn't show like when we're doing chapter 4, it just says exams 1 through 4.
What did I say about chapter 4?
It's review.
It's review.
Okay, so that's
And
just
what were you
online.
supposed to do with chapter 4 practice?
Oh, do it at home.
Do it at home,
Okay.
and if you're great at it,
Mhm.
relax.
Okay.
If you suck at it, by the way, I'm telling you, how many people are in this class, 30-something? About 27 to 28 of you really need to go back and do chapter 4 again. And by the way, also algebra. I don't know what happened in our country that we just stopped teaching people how to do algebra. Oh my goodness. Okay. People say, well, I'll never use that in real life. I use algebra every day. No, I'm weird, but I use algebra every day. Okay, any question? Yes?
You have an open discussion line.
What's that?
Discussion.
Ah, this is a good question. Did someone email me from this class about discussion 1? It was open, but the due date was past, so it wasn't showing. So I went out and fixed the due date. It should be showing now. In fact, when I pull it up, I'll show you where it is now. Thank you. By the way, I'm still learning Brightspace, and my shorthand for Brightspace is BS. I'm still learning BS, and I kind of jacked up discussion 1, maybe discussion 2, but then it gets better after that. You should have been in my class this summer. It was awful, right? Because we're trying it for the first time. So we're getting better, but still not quite perfect there. Good question. Other questions?
Regarding exams, you said you can only take the final to make up a missed exam, and like the poor scores are yours to keep.
Yeah.
So if I make like an 88 and I think I can do higher by the final, that's not.
Well, you may do higher than 88, but here's what you're doing. You're going to take that final exam hoping to get something higher than the average of your those 3 exams, which includes your 88. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good question. Other questions? Okay. Now, let's go back and finish looking at Brightspace. Okay, so back to the table of contents. Study tips. By the way, it's so funny. Students bomb exam 1, and they're like, do you have any tips on how I can do better? And I'm like, yeah, and I actually tell them exactly what's in this document, study tips. And they're like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, maybe you should have read the study tips when I told you to read the study tips. So read the study tips. That's, you guys already know about me. You don't want to watch that. You can come to my actual office, so you don't need to take the virtual office tour. You can walk the actual campus, so you don't need to take the virtual tour. Here is your algebra review. Oh,
Sorry, my cast broken.
you're what?
My cast broke.
Your car's broken. That's terrible. Are you Ms. Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're getting ready to talk about something that's near and dear to your heart. Okay, algebra. You think you know algebra, you don't. So go take a look at this and it'll help refresh your memory. For instance, order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. What does that mean?
Subtraction, addition, division, multiplication, power, exponent.
Yeah, he's running them backwards, right? This is how confident this guy is. I could ask him the alphabet, he would start at Z. Right? Okay, so it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, right? So that's the kind of stuff that you guys have undoubtedly forgotten, so get back into that. The calculator purification ritual. I don't know what happens to your calculators, but over the semester break, they like corrupt. It's like they've been sitting around smoking weed. I don't know what they've been up to, but you'll definitely want to do the calculator purification ritual to clean their dirty little minds. This is how you get set up with Respondus Monitor. Hopefully you've already done that for another class. There are 3 ways you can do environment scans for this class. I had a guy that, if you watch none of the rest of these, watch the one on the laptop. This guy, he obviously works out, and he does a great job. It's amazing. He's very fluid with his motions. Anyway, so those are the 3 methods. Do I care which one you use? No. Do the one that's best for you. Just do it well. Solutions manual. The questions at the end of the chapter, students are always, they're like, oh, I've done the practice, I've done the homework, what else can I do? And I say, the questions at the end of the chapter, and they're like, how do I know if I get them right? And I say, whew, there's a solutions manual, right? So there it is. You don't even have to look for it online, it's already there for you. Here's my YouTube channel. I'll be posting our videos to that. Also, I post other stuff out there occasionally, I was driving down the highway one day, and I see a shovel flying over the highway, and I caught it on my dash cam, which, by the way, everybody needs a dash cam now because of insurance fraud thing. Okay, so I was able to post that, and I even posted this little noise that goes. You can tell that the only thing worth watching on my YouTube channel is my lectures. Okay, so there we go. Professional advice. How many of you have been told to follow your passion? That is total horseshit, and you need to watch. You need to watch this guy Scott Galloway. He'll tell you that's why that is. So that's actually some good advice. The reason I put it up there, as I get job and internship opportunities, I will post them here. By the way, what's the purpose of you being here? What's the end game? Get a job. You'd be surprised how many people are surprised to learn that. Here are my live shows from a year ago when I did this. By the way, I've been on sabbatical, and I haven't been in the classroom since May, so if I seem a little bit twitchy, that may be why. So then we get to chapter 1. Now, here's what you need to know about doing the chapters. I've got the PowerPoint slides here. You want to print those out. I've seen some of you already have them. I'm very pleased to see that. Print that out before class and watch read the book. Read the book. So this is the book. This is chapter 1, Introduction to Corporate Finance. And then I also have videos. If you're coming to class, you really don't need to watch the videos. However, they might be good for exam review. Does that make sense? And then we've got our practice. So what you want to do is print out your slides, read it, take notes on your slides, come to class, take more notes on your slides, then work the practice, then work the homework. Working the homework's your last thing. What do you think most people do? I'll see if I can do the homework and then I'll know if I need to do anything. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay, so that's how you work each and every chapter. Now, Ms. Holden, tell us, what happens when you try to view this stuff on an iPad?
You can't see the link to the chapter 1 book.
Yeah, the connect links don't show up. This thing isn't built for, remember I talked about how smart people, they don't have to make it work really well? Boom, there you go. So they assume that if you can't get to work on your iPad, you go check something else, and you did, you used your Mac and figured it out, right? But that's why I'm telling you, don't use your mobile devices for this kind of stuff. If you want to use your mobile device to watch my videos, you could always use YouTube, that'll work. And then of course we've got basically the same stuff out there for all the chapters. And then you'll see after, oh by the way, here's the stuff for chapter 4. Are we having in-class lecture over chapter 4? In fact, we're not going to have in-class lecture over chapter 2 either, though I'll probably do a short review of it. Chapter 2 is accounting stuff. What's the basic accounting balance sheet equation?
Assets equals liabilities plus equity.
Yeah, very good. Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. By the way, are you an accountant?
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't in here earlier when I asked the question about who's an accountant.
I raised my hand.
You raised your hand.
High.
You're just-
It's kind of low.
Yeah, it's the hand raise of shame. Don't be ashamed, it's all good. Okay, now, what does this tell you? So you need to basically prepare for chapter 2 will have a homework, but chapter 4 will not. But I do plan to do just a little bit of chapter 2 review before the exam. Now, why is that? Chapter 2, you're supposed to have had how many hours of accounting before you come here? At least 6. Maybe 9, right? And I still have people come to my office, they're like, owner's equity, is that just another kind of liability? I'm not kidding, that's a direct quote. That's bad, right? And so that person needs to review chapter 2 and understand that stuff all really well. Let's see here. Oh, I hate this about Brightspace. Load more. Maybe I wanted to see it all to begin with. And then of course it takes forever. So now here's something that I've added fairly recently, and it's the exam calculation practice. Now I'm going to tell you a dirty little secret. Are you ready for a dirty little secret? Here's what I did. I took the calculation questions from the exam. I changed the numbers and sometimes the business name. And I put them in the exam 1 practice. If you can do the exam 1 practice, what should you be able to do with the exam 1 actual? You should be able to kick its butt, right? Especially the calculation part for sure. By the way, exam 1 practice is only the calculations. You should be able to kick its butt because I've already basically showed you what's going to be on the exam. And I tell you this, and still I will have people who don't even bother to look at exam 1 practice. And I really feel bad for those people. Not bad enough to, help them out with their grade, but bad. And then I've got some videos where I work out exam 1 calculations on the board. Now I'm going to be doing that with you beforehand. We'll have a review session, hopefully. But if not, you can always come here and watch that, because guess what? Students have the same questions semester after semester. So I already know what we need to talk about. You've got exam 1 here. Now notice it says Respondus Lockdown Browser. You're not going to be able to take this thing in Safari or Explorer or any of that crap. It'll open up your lockdown browser. That's the fully secure thing in theory. Another thing I want you to notice here is that after chapter 4, we skip to chapter 10. And then we come back, we go to chapter 11, then back to 5 and 6. So don't always assume that the next one is going to be the next chapter. It doesn't work that way. So the exam 2 is a practice, and exam are out there. Everything's out there. By the way, if you wanted to, if you were just truly a glutton for punishment, you could go out right now and start watching all the videos, and you could treat this like an online class, and you could actually, except for the discussions, you could finish the whole class in a week. Now, I don't recommend it. You'll wind up in the hospital if you do it right. Don't recommend that at all. However, it's there. Now, what does this mean? So let's say you've won a cruise. What can you do? Yeah, you should be excited. I'm still got a buffet hangover from my last cruise. So what I'm telling you is this: if you win the cruise, do you even have to tell me about it? No. Well, you could if you just wanted me to say, "Wow, that's great." But if you're like, "Wow, but it's when exam 1 is due." Not a problem. Just do exam 1 before you go. Bon voyage, right? Does that make sense? So it's all out there. So no excuses. Okay, so that's all the content type stuff. Oh, I hate this. Here we go. But now let's talk about discussions. Ms. Wen, where's Ms. Wen? Okay, so Ms. Wen emailed me earlier and she's like, wait a minute, I can't post about scumbags. What is wrong with you? And she was right, there was something wrong with me. It was that I had the previous due date on there. My due date was wrong. So I've now changed it. You should be able to see it now. Hey, what class are you here for?
1, 5.
I think you're either really early or really late. This is finance.
It says 3:43.
Is it for a 12:30 class?
No.
11 o'clock?
No, 12.
12?
Yeah.
That
Sorry.
is messed up, dude. Yeah, stuff will happen like this. I had a guy walk in one time, middle of class, and he comes in and sits down. I said, can I help you? He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm like, you're not even in this class. He's like, yeah, I am. And I said, what class do you think this is? And he said, I think it's Finance 380. And I said, no, this is 780. Really? Guy was an hour and a half early. But it was really freaky. I saw him later. I sat down by him. I'm like, dude, are you doing okay? And he said, yeah. Okay, so I fixed the problem that you brought to my attention. So you want to click on this, and then you can start a thread and write your stuff, right? And it's so far I have, I think 7 posted. Yeah, 7 I've posted. So you can work ahead on those too. Just remember, that last 24 hours before the due time, you need to go out and look at 6 to 12 of your colleagues and rate their stuff. Okay, so far we've talked about the syllabus. Let's talk about, oh, by the way, many of you have already gotten into Connect. How did you get into Connect? All you have to do is, click on anything in the course related to Connect. Boom. There you go. You're right in there. No problems. So that's all I'm going to say about Connect. By the way, if you have technical problems with Connect, who should you talk to?
Connect.
Connect, right? I'll tell you how much I get to see of this is about 2% more than what you get to see of this. I don't see how the sausage is made. So those are the people that you want to talk to. Homework 1 and discussion 1 are due on Sunday. Homework 1, don't let it fool you. It is way, way easy. It is just my way of you getting in there casually, relaxingly, learning how to use Connect if you've never used it before. But after that, it gets real. It gets real in a hurry, so don't let that fool you. Discussion 1 is not a typical discussion. It's basically about the nature of man. But in order for you to understand finance, you need to understand the nature of man. And that is that people are scumbags. And by the way, scumbag is a continuum. It's like autism. It's not, by the way, slightly autistic, I'm going to confess. You guys already knew that, right? Okay, so scumbaggery goes from 0 to 1. Now, it's really easy for us to sit out here and talk about some people that we know that we think are pushing the perfect scumbaggery of 1, right? Hitler. Nobody liked that guy, right? Joe Stalin, also a bad dude. Now, depending on your religious belief system, you might be able at this point to name someone that's a 0, right? But anybody in this room, because you're not in prison, I'm pretty sure you're somewhere between 0 and 1 on the scumbag scale, right? And if you say, oh no, not me, I'm not a scumbag, I'm going to disprove it really quickly. You are eating pizza with friends. And if you're a vegan, it's a vegan pizza. You're eating pizza with friends, and there's only one piece left. Who do you think should get the slice of pizza? By the way, you're hungry. Who do you think should get the slice of pizza?
I'm taking it.
I'm taking it, right? I'm like me, and we're all gonna eyeball that last piece of pizza. This is especially with family. You're eyeballing that last piece of pizza, and you're like, is anybody gonna eat it? Right? But you know who you want to get the pizza. You're a scumbag. Embrace this part of your nature, not to be a scumbag, but to understand that everybody else is too, and that you are not pure either, right? So we need to give each other a little grace there, but also to understand that when we're dealing with people, whose best interest do they have in mind? Themselves, right? When you're dealing with someone on a car and they're like, well, because you're so great, horse crap, right? See, I got crap out that time instead of the other. Okay, so let's see. Respondus trial run quiz is due February 2nd. That's to make sure you know what the heck you're doing with Respondus. And then exam 1 is on February 9th. Now, at this point, if there are no questions, I want to try to make a mad dash here and learn some interesting facts about you guys. So, any questions?